All right. Welcome, welcome to the first ever FLM Champions podcast. And we have a special one for you today as we dive into the former champions, Manager Corona, Manager UFC, and Manager Yeezy. To start off, Manager Corona, the 15-time trade wizard, one-time champion, Manager Corona. Um, in his championship season, he started off 1-2. Definitely had an up and down season until he made a critical trade in what will go down as one of the most lopsided trades in FLM history. Getting Jalen Waddle and Leonard Fournette for Mark Andrews. That really changed his entire season. And leading to the championship with a fathomable record of 11-3. Um, might be one of the best single season turnarounds in history, given that, there was not much riding on him during the start and the way he turned around. I mean, it's hard to emulate that. And then we have, of course, the defending champion, Manager Yeezy. Um, Arguably the most decorated manager in our league. I mean, he's a two-time champion. Um, he also has the highest winning percentage in the league. And he has the most wins overall at 41. Um, Here we have Manager Easy, and we clearly see with him holding the championship trophy after the triumphant win last year. And also, last but not least, we also have Manager UFC, who is not with us today, but his impact on the league can never go unnoticed. I mean, this man went 13-1 in his dominant run. I mean, can be compared to Kawhi's 2019 run in Toronto. I mean, just the way, and he also, given that he's only been in this league for 4 years, he also has one of the highest winning percentages in the league as well. Um, so just a lot of decorated championship runs, just a lot of decorative seasons, and not to mention some of the great players that they've had over the years. I mean, C-Mac, Tyreek, Eckler, list goes on, and we can get started here. Starting off with Manager Yeezy. Question one.
Well, Chipotle, you introduced us, but it sounded like someone died in your family. Is everything okay? You seem very down. You didn't even say, how are you guys? I'm doing amazing. How are you, Chipotle?
You know, I'm doing okay. Obviously, still reeling from that championship loss last year. Obviously you had a great season, so I have to show you the ultimate respect. But it does pain me, given that, you are holding that trophy and not me. Hopefully, instead of being a mediator in this podcast, I will also be a guest as a champion. But I will say congratulations to you. You had a wonderful season. Congratulations to Manager Corona as well in his championship 2 years back. And same thing for Manager UFC. Um, and just, how are you guys feeling? Obviously, great careers thus far. Just, how are you guys feeling so far 3 weeks into this brand new season?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. It's great to see my fellow competitors here. Um, Decorated rivals, us three have put our marks on the league, which I will love. And I hope we can continue to do that.
Hey, I'm doing very good. I am here because I found out that Corona is going to be here, and I wanted to show him my shirt, the Better Beer Bush Light. Take a look.
Easy,
Remember?
easy.
you know, your team is kind of playing like how your beer tastes, man. 1-2, it's looking kind of awful. I am 1-2 as well, but my team is headed in the opposite direction your team's headed in. I'm getting worried about you, but I came here because I thought today we were gonna have your funeral.
I don't know, man. Eckler might turn things around for me. And given Yeezy's nature in the world currently, I'd have to side with my guy Drake on this one. 0 to 100 real quick. Don't worry.
All right, we'll
Interesting.
see about that, but I am excited. Like this little thing right here is something I'm sleeping with every night. We've made love And, I might put a ring on it soon. So, especially if she comes back to me next season, I don't want to get too comfortable with her.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely an interesting mindset you have, Manager Easy, because that kind of brings me to my first question. Um, One thing to note is you do have a league record, 13 50+ point wins. I mean, clearly we've seen the dominance over the years, but you actually find yourself in uncharted waters this season so far. You find yourself on the cusp of having, for the first time in your career, back-to-back losses. That's something, very, you're not used to that type of, situation. You're usually seeing that, out of a manager Chipotle or, manager DraftKings, players that haven't made that next step. But, what are your, how do you feel, obviously, and, any big changes on the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, 1 and 2 is somewhere I am absolutely a little unfamiliar with. Last season I was at 3-0 at this point. So I know that, most championship teams don't start at 1 and 2. However, this season has been quite unique, has been quite different, and I am playing the long-term game. I know that it is a 14-week season where you need to just win enough games to make the playoffs because anything can happen in the playoffs. So my goal right now is to put the perfect roster together for those playoffs. And if that means I don't win the MVP, so be it. I'm not here to win the best record. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to win a championship. And that's going to be a process where some players on my team are going to be dealt, and some new players are going to come in. However, I am willing to show love and admiration to all the players on my team, nothing but respect, no matter what happens moving forward.
No, for sure. And I think, the depth at the receiver spot in your league, I think definitely goes to show that you are playing the long-term game. So curious and also interested to see how that will pan out. And, Manager Corona, you have a league record, 15 trades made. I mean, I don't know if anybody can catch up to that, given that I know that you have something stored later in this year as well. And one of the trades that you made ended up landing you a ring, hence why you are here. Is there a specific point in the season, where you like to pull the trigger, or like is it instinct based? Kind of take us through that.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a little bit instinct based. I do think I'm good at adapting. When I see that my team's heading in a wrong direction, I try to come up with as many possibilities as I can to put it in that right direction. Such as last year, I was really shaky in the start, had to make, a lot of moves, change my entire roster around, made the playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't result in what I wanted, but I'm glad it resulted in a playoff, berth. But yeah, like this season, I think Manager Yeezy, like you said, it's really weird to start off in the beginning. But I think it's mainly instinct based where I think then I'll know when's the right time to pull a trigger on a trade.
Cool. And
Hey,
just
I'm
real quick,
always
guys.
open for trades.
Yes, sir. We need our yearly trade. We need our yearly trade.
Moving on to Manager Aman, UFC. I mean, no one went on a streak like you did, winning your first string. I mean, 13 wins, may not ever see that again. A key player if we're looking back at that championship winning roster, and a key player that wasn't valued as much going into that season was James Robinson. What is your approach in finding those league winning guys? And, you made a big splash earlier last week in getting Kyron Williams, who is the lead back on that Rams team. Do you think Kyron is that guy for you? And what's your approach in finding those guys?
Hey, what's up, guys? So, I guess those quote unquote league winning players, mostly 75% luck and then 25% research. In terms of like finding them, I honestly just, read some news on training camp. It's mostly for running backs as wide receivers. There's already so many of them, and, they're easier to find, especially during the season with waiver wire pickups. But for running backs, I look at some training camp videos and basically look at how their previous The running back was for that team. For James Robinson's case, Fournette was on the Jags before him, who had a great year too. And then you gotta ask yourself, is it the O line? Is it the player? And just kind of go with your gut to see if they're gonna have a good year. Now for Kyron, he looks like he's gonna have a good year. I mean, I just traded for him, but hopefully with that Rams offense, he can pick it up a little bit.
Um, Manager Yeezy, let's bring it back to you. So obviously we touched upon, your depth at your lineup at that receiving spot, and we know you're playing the long game here. When looking at your team right now, though, who do you think is the biggest obstacle, of you going back to back? Is there someone where you think like, okay, like I like him, but do I really believe in this guy? Because I know you're very big on those guys that's a league winner, and I know you target those guys. So take us through that.
Yeah, are you talking from a player perspective on my team or from like the managers in the league?
Purely off of your team and the player perspective on your roster.
Okay, yeah. I mean, as we mentioned, I'm in uncharted territory, so I'm very critically assessing whether, you know, the roster spot on my team is valuable or not, whether that person is taking up space, whether they should be there, whether they should be my wide receiver one, two, three, four, so on. So I have done that critical assessment, and if they're on my roster right now, that means they deserve to be on my roster, and I'm moving forward with them. There's no doubts in my mind about any of these players. Um, some of the players might be dealing with injuries, and I have accounted for that. I always account for injuries. I always make sure that I'm one step ahead. Make sure that I am planning for the worst case scenario and planning for the best case scenario. I want to make sure that that whole, spectrum is covered because as a manager, that's the best thing you can do is stay prepared, stay ready for when the actual issue comes. Because it's going to be too late when that issue comes and you don't have a plan. So no, if they're on my roster, I completely believe in them. If they're away from my roster, that's clearly a sign either I really, really wanted the player or I want to get rid of the player. However, I am very content with my roster and I'm looking forward to seeing some of my injured players, aka Saquon Barkley and Christian Watson and Brandon Ayuk, come back and really help the franchise Yeezy take the next step forward to a championship team.
Confident as always, Manager Easy. As it pains me to say this, you do have reason to believe in that as you have the highest winning percentage in the league, tied, and Manager UFC also is in second for highest win percentage in the league, which then brings me to the question, Manager Corona. Your winning percentage isn't that high compared to the other two champions here, and yet you stay here. A lot of people have had their doubts since you won that ring as, a fluke, given that even though you had a great turnaround last year, you came up short. This year off to a slow start. There have been some doubts. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, people can talk all they want. Still got a ring on the finger though. I don't care. I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna just just do what I can to bring my team to the playoffs and bring them to the chip. I don't give a shit about, who's gonna talk about Manager Coronas and, his like expectations that he has, but nah, I don't care. I'm going for the chip and that's it.
Okay.
This is all that matters, baby, right here.
Yeah, I think a similar mindset comes to Manager UFC because he is known as the silent assassin. I mean, he doesn't care about what anybody thinks. He just goes out and straight plays. Manager UFC, you have been known as the silent assassin in comparisons to the great Kawhi Leonard, which makes sense in his 2019 run as towards your 2020 run. Which part of that tactic and personality, Manager UFC, do you find that helps you most in getting that win? Is it being silent or is it being, discreet, waiting everyone to attack and then you attack when least expected? Kind of take us through that.
I think for fantasy football, especially, you got to go in the mindset of you draft a team that you're comfortable with and you think's going to do well, but you can't really, you know, talk your smack because there's so much variability. You don't know who's going to get injured. You don't know who's going to have what kind of season, especially if you're going to a new team. But, I let the team do the talking. And, it's been good to me so far, but, I need to get another chip soon.
Brings a close to this explosive interview among the champions. It was a pleasure to have them. Best of luck, not really, to all these managers. Hopefully, Manager Chipotle and myself, instead of being a mediator in this, he will be joining in the near future. And that's all we have for today. Please follow along our managers as the season continues. And till next time.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.